When Felix first stumbled upon the trap, he could never have anticipated what he would discover inside. The true nature of the situation became apparent only when a veterinarian performed emergency surgery on the animal. It seemed unlikely that the jaguar had become ensnared in the ropes by chance. It was evident that it sought human intervention. With the jaguar finally sedated, the vet was able to investigate its condition. He hoped to uncover the reason behind its unusual behavior. It was clear that the animal required more than just release from the ropes. The peculiar bulge in its stomach raised several alarm bells for the vet, prompting him to determine that surgery was necessary to gain a clear understanding of the issue. He carefully extracted the source of the bulge from the still-trapped animal's stomach. Felix had often spotted the jaguar roaming around his small village, but it was always from a distance. While seeing such an animal in the neighborhood wasn't unusual in Felix's town, this particular jaguar was different. Most wildlife didn't linger in the area for long. Felix felt an unusual fear whenever he saw the jaguar, particularly because he had noticed it eyeing one of his cattle. Determined to protect his livestock, he resolved not to let the animal harm them, unaware that the jaguar had entirely different intentions. Other villagers also observed the jaguar's strange behavior. They concluded that something was amiss, as the animal would simply walk away whenever they attempted to chase it off. Its actions consistently surprised them. They expected it to either flee or attack, but it did neither. Given the jaguar's abnormal behavior, the villagers were uncertain about what to anticipate. Consequently, they took precautionary measures, ensuring their doors were locked at night and keeping their cattle indoors. For days, everyone in the village adhered to this unspoken rule. Since this new normal began in Felix's village, everywhere was always quiet at night. This continued for some time until the quietness was broken one day. On a particular night, Felix was sleeping when, all of a sudden, he began to hear some noise from outside his house. The commotion was so loud that he couldn't get back to sleep. Frustrated, he stood up to find out the cause of the noise. To his greatest surprise, he discovered that the source of the commotion was the jaguar he had been seeing around for some days. He stepped out of his house to check what the noise from the animal was about. As he moved closer to the jaguar, he noticed that the animal had become entangled in one of his house's fence ropes. The situation was so strange that he quickly lost his sleepiness. He kept wondering how the animal had managed to get so stuck in the rope. While he was still thinking about the animal's situation, he noticed the strangest thing. Felix observed how calm the animal was while stuck in the rope. What he discovered confused him to the point of going blank. He was caught between two options. His first option was to release the animal from the entanglement, while his second option was to kill the defenseless creature. He immediately canceled the second option as it crossed his mind. He decided to deal with the animal in the morning, hoping to get help from other people in the village regarding what to do. Before Felix went back to bed, he ensured that his cattle were safely secured. He couldn't sleep once he got back inside. His mind was preoccupied with thoughts of the jaguar. Out of curiosity, he stood up at different times to check through the window to see if the animal was still stuck in the rope. He concluded that something was most likely wrong with the animal and hoped that morning would come soon, as he couldn't wait to find out what was wrong with the beast. Felix quickly looked for some other members of the village to help him with the animal. They all gathered around the jaguar, which was still sleeping. The people who weren't so afraid quickly boosted the confidence of the fearful ones by encouraging them. Not long after, the discussion switched back to the jaguar. Someone among them suggested cutting the animal loose while it was still sleeping. Unfortunately, it was too late to execute the idea. The noise from the people had woken up the jaguar. Even though the animal's eyes were wide open, it was not as active as expected. After a few minutes, the jaguar's eyes became clearer. Suddenly, one of the villagers noticed something on the jaguar, which called for their attention, prompting them to stop the discussion. One of the younger villagers, who had walked around the animal before, noticed a strange bulge on the jaguar's stomach. The young man quickly called the attention of the other villagers to this discovery, beckoning them over. Each person took turns to look at it. After everyone had checked, none of them could say for sure what it was. The only thing they could agree on was that it wasn't healthy and neither was it natural. The strange discovery left them confused and drained their well of ideas. After a few minutes of silence, Felix concluded and informed the rest of the villagers that the animal needed help. At Felix's words, they made up their minds to ensure that the animal's problem was addressed. Being a cattle rearer, Felix quickly called the veterinary doctor who always helped him with his cattle. The veterinarian lived a couple of towns away from Felix's village. While on the call with the vet, Felix explained the jaguar's situation and the abnormal bulge in its stomach. The vet requested to know more about the bulge. Following the vet's request, Felix gently poked the jaguar's stomach with a stick. As Felix gently prodded the jaguar's stomach, the animal reacted for the first time. Its response was so fierce that it instilled a deep fear in the hearts of the villagers. The jaguar let out a powerful roar as Felix poked the bulge, startling him greatly. Fortunately, the animal was still ensnared in the rope, preventing it from moving too far. Observing the jaguar's distress, everyone present concluded that the bulge was causing the poor creature significant pain. Later, the vet operated on the jaguar and discovered that it had swallowed a small deflated football, which had become lodged in its stomach, making the animal very ill. The vet suspected that the jaguar had deliberately trapped itself in the fence, hoping to elicit human assistance, a strategy that had proven effective.